I remember many years ago when I was on the staff at San Jose State and we got fired. And so, obviously out of a job, and my wife's parents lived in San Jose, so we unfortunately had to move in with them for a little bit. And so we were there for about a month, and I was bored to death trying to figure out what am I going to do to get better. And so I pulled out some old Cool Clinic tapes, and I threw a few in the VCR back in the good old days. And it's Coach McNally. And he's talking posture, and he's into this duck walk, this deep duck walk, and he's talking, and he's showing it and demonstrating it, and he's on the board writing this whole time. He's keeping his knee bent. First of all, I'm thinking, this guy's legs got to be dying. I don't know if you guys have seen those tapes, but he'd hold that position forever. Okay? And so going through all this stuff, and my wife walks in the room, and she looks at this tape for about 30 minutes as it's going, and I'm into it, and she looks me dead in the eye, and she says, when my parents get home, that shit needs to be off. And so, come full circle now, last year, we go vacation. It's June 1st, or whatever, July 1st, we go vacation. I take my wife and my daughters down to San Diego for a wedding. Day one, get up at whatever, 6 in the morning, because I'm not used to vacation. They're dead asleep, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to the tapes. Last year's tapes from the clinic, I throw them in. Coach Solari, phenomenal energy, great passion, love what he's talking about. I was fired up. I put Coach Alexander in. My wife comes out, and I think, okay, here it comes again. Well, I'm not living at her parents' house, so I got my own set of rules. Now I'm getting ready to pounce on her when she says something. She sits down and listens to this for about 5 minutes and goes, this guy's unbelievable. He's talking about playing the piano and playing offensive line and this artwork and all this good stuff. And I'm thinking, this guy's a lot smarter than me. That's probably where the disconnect is here, but his was awesome as well. Very good stuff. I want to talk to you guys tonight about fundamentals. And so have kind of come full circle talking about fundamentals. And so I always start the year by talking about championship offensive line play with our guys. That's our mission. We want to have championship offensive line play. And about 5 years ago, this was the only thing I had up in my meeting room anywhere. I had my board where I'd put depth chart and different stuff, but I had this sign up on the board, and it said, play smart, great fundamentals, and finish blocks. And that's our mission. I think, as we all know, play smart simply means assignment, error-free football. If a guy busts in the offensive line, there's no mystery what happens. It's a negative play. It's a problem. Many times if a guy busts in the defensive line, it's still a negative play for the offense. It doesn't matter. We can have 0 assignment mistakes, period. We consider that a given. We're going to figure out who to block, and we're going to get them blocked. Okay? Great fundamentals. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then finish blocks. That's our mission. We want to finish blocks. We'd love to finish blocks on top of the defensive lineman. That excites us. That doesn't happen all the time. The bottom line is, we want our guy that we're blocking not to make the play. Okay? And so Coach Peterson was sitting in my room, and then in the meeting room, and then the players left, and he grabbed me afterwards and he said, hey, Strauss, what's great fundamentals? I said, I don't know. It's good technique. It's a drive block. It's a reach block. And he said, well, if you think your guys are going to play with great fundamentals and you don't know how to explain it to them and they don't know how to explain it back to you, you probably have a problem. So I went on a mission to try and figure out, what do we really truly consider great fundamentals? And I really wanted to make it 3 because I think guys learn with 3s easier. Okay, but I couldn't. And I spent some time with Jim Mahalchek, who's now at Arizona, Mike Kavanaugh at Oregon State, and those guys had a lot to do with some of this good stuff that we've done. But we came up with these 5 things, great fundamentals, okay? Now our fundamentals to us, this is the building blocks. This is what our guys have to be able to do to have success. These 5 things have to happen every single play. You may think this is very easy, basic stuff, and as a bunch of football coaches in a clinic, yes it is. But I'm talking about the players understanding this, the players knowing what this means, the players being able to not just recite this back to you, but to do it on the field. Okay, stance and start. Then I'll get into obviously all 5 of these. Butt down. That's my way of saying pad level. Okay, feet apart, playing with the base, run, pass. That's the other thing. All 5 of these things come into play. Run, pass, whatever, every single play. They don't have to learn these 3 fundamentals for run, these 3 fundamentals for pass. It's these 5 fundamentals, and if you can get it figured out, you're probably going to have a smile on your face at the end of the season. Okay? And I know we're never going to simplify what we do offensively. We got a lot of scheme. We probably got too much scheme. That's just who we are. But when it comes to the fundamental part of it, I needed to make this as simple as I possibly could. Hands inside. Okay, lastly, eyes to the aiming point. Those 5 things at all times we want to get done. Every drill we do, we can talk about all 5 of those things. Okay, and I'm not going to talk about a bunch of drills here. We have some drills as examples, but it's not about the drills. It's about these fundamentals. So stance and start, we're really talking about getting out of your stance, 2-point, 3-point, whatever. We're mostly 3-point and into the fit of your block. Okay, so your footwork and then the fit of the block, the first 2 steps. Some coaching points that I use with myself, not necessarily with my players, but drop and cock. We want to put our chest on our thigh on the run game on that first step. Okay? And then just as an example, our first 2 steps will have some different variations depending on what type of block it is. Most of what we're going to see here today is a drive block, inside zone stuff in the run game. So I put lateral, vertical up there. That's what their footwork is. It's a lateral first step and a vertical second step. Okay? So let's take a look at a few things here. So stance and start. Again, going back to the stance part of it. Okay, the stance is very offensive specific. So your stance may be very different than the stance that I teach. We're very balanced on offense. We try and have a balanced stance. I want my guys to be comfortable. I want them to be in position where they can get out of their stance fast and move whatever direction they need to move. And really it's that simple. Now I've got more guidelines than that, but that's what I'm trying to get done. Okay, so I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on the stance part of it. Okay? So footwork, lateral, vertical. Set them up on the line here so I know that this first step's not crossing the line. Second step, we got our fit. We'll get to hands, we'll get to hips, we'll get to aiming points. But again, this is just stance and start. We talked about the drop and cock. So again, when we're saying drop and cock, we're wanting to put our chest on our thigh. We're wanting to cock our elbows a little bit as we go. Not a big arm whip. That's wasted movement. I know a lot of guys like to come straight out of their stance to the defender. And that's great too. For us, I think on step number 2 is when we make contact. So I love to get a little bit of power wound up as we go. Little drop and cock. Again, the footwork, lateral, vertical. First step behind the line. Second step pushing vertical. Similar look at the same thing here. Just to see the closest guy here, just a little drop and cock. And again, it's not big arm action right there, just a little cock right there, just before you punch. I always tell my guys, you never see a boxer running around the rink like this with his arms standing out. You got no power there. They get their arms set and then they punch from there. We're always trying to produce powerful angles, whatever we do. Okay, so stance and start. And again, that was one example of a drive block. Our footwork's going to be a little bit different for a reach block. It's going to be a little bit different for a down block. So they need to understand what the footwork is for that. Butt down. I've been round and round on the pad level thing. We all know our guys don't play low enough. It's a constant battle. Okay? The offensive coordinator wants your guys to play low, come off the ball, go get guys, be lower than the defense. The second you do that, the defensive lineman moves, you're whiffing. Okay, we're all doing a lot of zone blocking stuff. We got to get up a little bit to see what's happened to pass off these combos, the fit combos. We can't play at the same pad level always as the defensive line. Okay, so how do you get low? Some guys are 6'6", some guys are 6'1". Most of our guys are 6'1". Okay, one thing I do know is if your butt goes down, you bend your knees. And to me, that's really what we're trying to get done in pad level, is knee bend, knee bend, knee bend. That's power. Bend your knees. Okay, you can easily get low by putting your eyes down low. That doesn't help. So butt down. Anytime you say to guys, get your butt down, they're bending their knees. Okay, butt down to bend your knees. Talk to my guys out of their stance. We want their hips to maintain that same plane. We don't want their hips to come up at all on step number 1. We want their hips to maintain that same plane, and as the play goes on, they're pressing their hips on that same level. But again, the term butt down, they're going to hear 1,000 times. They know butt down, butt down. Knee bend to one guy is very different than it is to another guy. We've all seen guys in the weight room doing their squats and they think they're parallel. Nobody's parallel. You tell a guy, bend your knees, he thinks he's bending his knees, he doesn't know. Tell him butt down. Get your butt down. Okay, not all these clips obviously will be perfect. We're looking at the guy in the middle right here, our center. But again, right now here, so butt down to him says his hips do not raise at all out of his stance. So as he takes this first step right there, those hips are staying on the same plane. Again, we're working on air here, so this is a little bit unrealistic. But this is what we're trying to get done on that first step with our butt. Again, watch the guy in the center here. Butt does not raise up out of the stance. Butt down. And as we go on throughout the play, butt down. Okay, moving right here. Of course, these guys were all fired up when Nike got them these new pants. They got this pretty stripe on them. Well, unfortunately, what they didn't know is I can see what that stripe does. Going up or down. Didn't work in their favor so much. Center, left tackle right here. Both those guys doing a decent job with their butt not raising up as they go. Now, as we got going here, I think almost everybody's too high. So I would certainly tell right tackle right here, butt down. You got to get your butt down so you have better knee bend right there. We got to play with our butt down at all times. Stance and start, butt down. Okay, taking it to the next step, little one-on-one rep right here. Okay, stance and start right there, lateral vertical, butt down. He keeps his butt down. He's able to maintain the block right there and go finish. Again, pressing the hips. We talked about butt down on the first step. We don't want it to raise up at all. And then press those hips as you go, keeping your butt on the same plane. And finish the block like you like to. Okay, watching the two guards here. Again, I think this is good right here, just with the stripes on their pants. You can see the difference. Left guard, that stripe's not coming up much. It may come up a little, it's not coming up much. He's playing with his butt down. He's in good shape right there. Good things happen. Okay, unfortunately, we threw the ball, but we still had good movement right there on the one technique. Right guard, watch those stripes. Way up in the air. Has a hard time maintaining the block, and really he's not getting any kind of movement right there. Stance and start, butt down. Left tackle here. Okay, going butt down here, talking about pad level. We want him to bend his knees at all times. We want him to maintain. So knee bend out of your stance, knee bend throughout the play. Keep your butt down. Give yourself a chance. He does a nice job right here. He actually is a 6'6" guy. He's got to work harder at it right there. Presses his hips, keeps his butt down. Gives us a chance to have good things happen on the play. Okay, I've showed you all run game stuff so far. Pass game, it's all the same stuff right here. Center, left guard, both these guys butt down in pass pro. Okay, really watch probably the center here. Right there, butt down. That's how you play with decent knee bend. Left guard as well. We'll change the direction right there, but he's sinking the hips right there. Playing with his butt down. Okay? Feet apart. Playing with your feet apart at all times. Okay? Playing with the base. A lot of times you tell a high school kid who just got to you got to play with a better base, and then 2 months later you ask them, do you know what a base is? No, I don't. That's not good coaching on my part. Okay? So base, feet apart. We want these guys to play with their feet apart at all times. When we're talking about feet apart, we're talking about their feet are wider than their shoulders. Okay, it's going to vary a little bit from guy to guy. We don't have any exact true landmark, but the feet are wider than the shoulders. The knees are inside the ankles. I tell them to squeeze their knees a little bit. Again, power-producing angles right there. We play with tight feet. Our feet are always close to the ground. That helps us play with our feet apart throughout the play. Okay, so feet apart here. We'll watch the guy on the left side right here. Obviously, you've got the board to keep him playing with the base right here, but also there's a pretty good look right there at tight feet. You can see as he goes, his knees are inside his ankles right there. Power-producing angles right there. Tight feet. The difference between what he just did with his feet and what this guy on the right side did right there is big. He's taking a big step up off the ground. He's going to be out of posture on contact when the defensive line fits him up. Tight feet, feet close to the ground. Okay, so these guys in this drill right now should be thinking all three of these things so far. Stance and start, butt down, feet apart. Stance and start, butt down, feet apart. At all times, 1,000 times a day they need to hear that stuff. And same thing here. On the left side, good tight feet. A little bit better here, but he's still taking a little bit bigger steps than what we would like. Tight feet, feet apart, feet apart, feet apart. Okay, here's a good look at tight feet. Again, on tight feet, obviously we want to keep our feet moving, but the guy, 77 right here, does a decent job keeping his feet moving. I'm sure you guys have done the base on base drills where they're not real pretty, but the guy that keeps his feet moving playing with tight feet is the guy that's going to probably get some movement at some point. You can see the other guy stops his feet. 1, 2, feet are stopped. And for a second there, you can't see it, but he's not playing with his feet apart. You got no base, you got no power. Tight feet, feet apart. Okay? Left guard right here, feet apart. Pretty nice job with tight feet again. We're not knocking the guy 8 yards off the ball right there. Or actually we did late in the play when his feet came together, but tight feet. Feet apart right there. Okay, same things carry over in the pass game right here. All the same stuff. Stance and start. Obviously their stance and start in the pass game is a little bit different. Their pass sets are going to be a little bit different than what it was in the drive block, what we talked about. Okay, butt down. His butt should be down out of the stance. His hips should not be raising up at all. Butt down. Feet apart. He should maintain his feet apart, playing with tight feet. Pretty good look in the pass game. Tight feet right here. Short, quick steps. We're not thinking foot fire. Short, quick steps as in pitter-pat. We want them to be powerful steps. Okay, when I say tight feet to these guys, they know those have to be powerful steps. We're not just picking a foot up, putting it down. We see that all the time, guys just chopping their feet. We're not trying to chop our feet. We're trying to have productive, powerful steps so we can have a chance to go dominate guys in the play. Okay, feet apart. Left guard right here. Takes a quick set. He's got this guy man. As he comes back, feet apart. And again, we got a lot of good little teaching points to get this done, but in their mind, all that I care that they're thinking right now is feet apart. From what we've talked about, they should be thinking about 3 things at this point. Stance and start, butt down, feet apart. You'll probably hate that blue turf, sorry. That wasn't my decision. All right, hands inside. We can't talk about this one enough, okay? This is one of those areas that I think at the college level is the biggest thing to change with the high school player, the hardest thing to change, to teach these guys how to play with their hands, to teach these guys how to play with their hands inside. You take 20 minutes individual for the D-line, that's pretty much what they do. They work on getting their hands inside. I don't think I've worked on it enough as an offensive lineman. It's that important. Okay, I truly believe if Coach Wiley and myself were to get up here right now and lean on each other and I had my hands inside and he had his hands outside, he would not be able to push me back. Now we're not going to test it, but I don't think he could push me back because I got my hands inside. It's that important. When we talk about hands inside, we always want thumbs up, elbows in. And I know there's a lot of things going on with punch nowadays with the double under and some different stuff. For us, it's thumbs up, elbows in at all times. That's a powerful position for you. Okay, thumbs up, elbows in, and we're trying to hit on the rise. We never want to hit down on guys unless we're burying them, trying to hit on the rise. Hands inside. Watching really both guys right here, watching the guy on the right side. So, again, not a great job initially with the landmark with this punch right there, which is fine. That's going to happen. That's real football. It's not always perfect right off the stance. But then he resets that hand and gets it back in. He understands how important it is to have hands inside. We have a few different aiming points with the hands as you go, again, based on the block. Dry block right there is going to be right on the numbers. Pretty good little reset to get those hands back inside. Again, in the one-on-one. I like this rep right here because we obviously lost the pad level battle right there. The defensive lineman is much lower than we are. But we got our hands inside, so we got a shot. Hands inside, good stuff happens. Much stronger with the hands inside. Would like to see the elbows in. Thumbs up, elbows in. I will say this because most of what we do, most of what I do as an offensive line coach, coaching my guys, is from behind. And it's very hard to see where those hands are going from behind. And so I coach them on their elbows. If I can see your elbows, you're not good. So in this case right here, standing behind on this guy right here, I would not have liked that because I can see his elbows. Thumbs up, elbows in. Play with the elbows tight. Same concept here. Average right here. One-on-one. We all know what our guys do in one-on-one. They cut it loose a little bit, so not great getting off the ball right there. But he's got his hands inside. Something good's going to happen. Pretty good job with his elbows right there. Thumbs up, elbows in. We'll go finish the block how we want to. Okay, hands inside. Center right here. Hands inside. Right tackle. Freshman right tackle going against our best defensive player right here. Got his hands inside right there. Good stuff happens. Really playing on their side of the line of scrimmage right now because we got our hands inside. Stance and start. Butt down, feet apart, hands inside at all times. Inside 3 here. Okay? Don't like this right here. We obviously want to punch. We talk about keeping our elbows tight. We want to punch from our numbers to their numbers. So when I see the guy's hands out like this on the punch, they're not doing the right thing. We shouldn't see their hands out wide from behind right there. Center's obviously climbing a level, so he's not going to have his hands right inside right away. Right guard, pretty good job right there, working those hands inside. Your guys don't want to grab with their hands inside, all right? All of our guys want to grab shoulder pads. They feel much more confident having shoulder pads controlling guys. You're going to have to work on it, teach them to be confident getting their hands inside. But again, good things will happen if they get their hands inside. Same thing in pass protection. It's no different. All those same things we just talked about. Stance and start. Butt down, feet apart, hands inside, looking at the center right here. Again, we want to punch from our numbers to their numbers, so that's not great for a second there. After he snaps the ball, he drops his hands. But now we got him where we want him. We got our hands inside. Great way to handle the bull rush, getting those hands inside. Pretty good job here, left guard. It's a little punch reset, but again, hands inside. Okay, center. Again, all the same stuff applies at that next level. These are fundamentals. Your fundamentals are a starting point, what you have to do at all times. This stuff that we're talking about against the defensive line obviously all still applies at that next level, at the linebacker level. So the center right here working up to that next level. Okay, butt down, feet apart, hands inside. Pretty good finish there. Looks like he's wrestling. Looks like it's a little bit of a tackle. He's got his hands inside. That's legal. This guy never, his senior year, could bench press 315 pounds. He was a 4-year starter for us because he understood leverage. Very smart player that understood leverage in everything he did. Okay? And then eyes to the aiming point. Again, this is one that I debated on the fundamental. I really wanted to get it down to 3. Worst case scenario 4, but we couldn't take this one out because it's too important. The guys know how to play with their eyes. Their eyes take them into the fit of the block. Their eyes, offense, defense, special teams, it doesn't matter. And in many cases, a lot of this stuff carries over. Your eyes are going to take you where you need to go. You can't expect guys to be good with their eyes if you're not coaching them with their eyes. For many years, I said, keep your eyes up. That didn't do a whole lot. Guys kept their eyes up. But we want to be more specific than that. Eyes to the aiming point. We've got a few different aiming points. We don't have a few. We've got 5, period. Okay? And they know what they are. Under the chin, collarbone, shoulder, via the neck, and inside armpit. Inside armpit is for the tackle on pass set in most situations. In a man situation, all this other stuff's very specific to whatever block we have. But our guys should know on all those blocks, where do my eyes go? What's my aiming point? And usually if they get their eyes there, they're going to be in good shape. On a dry block, if you can get your eyes under the chin of the defensive lineman, you're going to be playing with pretty good pad level. If you get your eyes under the chin of that linebacker, you're playing with pretty good pad level. Eyes to the aiming point. So again, working here up to the linebacker level, but just focused. So we're working dry block right here. We want the eyes under the chin. All the same stuff. Stance and start right there. It doesn't matter whether they're blocking air or not. They should work that punch at all times. Stance and start. Butt down, feet apart, hands inside. Eyes to the aiming point. They know the aiming point on a drive block, whether they're talking first level, second level, is under the chin. Eyes to the aiming point. A little bit hard to see from this angle. But again, just very, very focused with his eyes right there under the chin of the linebacker. Same thing's true against the defensive lineman that he's working against. A good look at two guys blocking it differently. So again, we're working our inside zone concepts here, drive block concept. Center's got a man on him. His aiming point is under the chin. He's able to get some stuff done by getting his eyes under the chin. Left tackle did not get his eyes under the chin. And now the defender's on an edge. Doesn't have the same success as the other guy did. Right guard does a nice job handling movement. I think this is one of the best things you can do to handle movement, is teach your guys to get their eyes in the right spot. So now as this guy goes to cross his face, he got his eyes under the chin right there, and he's in good position to close off that long stick move. Eyes under the chin. The chin's going to move in some cases. Stay with it. Okay, just put another one on here just to give you an example. Most of the stuff we've seen in the run game has been drive block stuff. Okay, on a down block for us, now the aiming point becomes via the neck. So left tackle in this case on the down block on a pin and pull scheme, via the neck. He's not going to get under the chin. He wants to get his eyes in the via the neck. Same thing here, left tackle, down block right here. Aiming point, via the neck. Wants to get his eyes in the V of the neck. Left tackle again, down block. It's the same aiming point for the center on a down block, whether we're blocking power and it's a back block for him. It's the same for all those guys. Aiming points via the neck. And again, we've got those 5 different aiming points: under the chin, collarbone, shoulder, okay, via the neck, and inside armpit. That's it. They got to know those 5. Okay? So let's look at the big picture here. Look at all some of this stuff together. Right guard here, stance and start. Again, we didn't get specific on what the different starts were on the pass set right here. At this point right here, butt down, feet apart, hands inside. Eyes to the aiming point. For the guards versus an inside rusher, blocking him man right under the chin. If you got a guy man and you're blocking from inside, your aiming point's right under the chin, so that's where his eyes should go. Butt down, feet apart, hands inside, eyes to the aiming point. All right there. Again, we're not going to talk about all those things on every play, but if I were to say butt down, they'd know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? Right tackle here. And again, I like these clips because it's real football. He's a 6'6" guy. He's going against the guy that was the Defensive Player of the Year in our league a couple years back. But he's able to get some positive stuff done right there. Tight feet. He's working his hands back inside. Right one's out a little bit. He worked it back inside. Left guard. Butt down, feet apart, hands inside. Good rep here. Again, I think this is real football. It's not starting out real pretty for him. It's a good battle. He fought himself back and got all that done again. Butt down, feet apart, hands inside. Okay, tried to get it done right off the bat. It didn't work out for him perfectly. Keep battling. Get back to it. Butt down, feet apart, hands inside. Same thing at center here. Butt down, feet apart, hands inside. Okay, left guard, left tackle. All these same concepts. Butt down, feet apart, hands inside. This case right here, little play pass stuff, so it's a jump set. It's a little bit different stance and start than what we've seen. They know how to attack it based on what the technique is. But they also know at some point in the play they got to get the butt down, feet apart, hands inside. Pretty good look at it there. Right tackle as well, same concept right there. He's passing off this twist. So he didn't get to his perfect fit initially because they got a little game going on. He's on the zone side of the protection. But once that looper comes, he knows what he's got to get done. Butt down, feet apart, hands inside. And again, it's got to be simple for these guys. Okay? Last couple clips here don't totally relate to the stuff I talked about. I just wanted to put this on because we talked about championship level offensive line play. Okay, those three things we talked about initially. Assignment or error-free football, great fundamentals, and finished blocks. Okay? And so we try and define for our guys, yes or no on every play, you got something done. You're getting your job done or not. And so we show guys clips, the good stuff here. At center, we talked about this guy was not big, was not strong, but he understood leverage, and he knew how to play hard. Finishing blocks. Stay on it, stay on it, stay on it, stay on it. Okay, finishing blocks. You continue to play till that whistle blows. We don't care if it's run game, pass game, it's the same stuff. Finish blocks. If you got an opportunity to be the free hitter, be the free hitter. Again, center right guard right here. Finishing blocks. Take your set. He's obviously responsible for this B gap right there. Nothing. Come on back in and help. Now finish blocks right there. Again, I think it's important to understand that all the stuff we talk about on that first level carries over to that second level. It's not just against the defensive lineman. We're blocking the front seven. We're almost always responsible for the front seven. Every once in a while the safeties. But we're really responsible for the front seven. We've got to be able to battle linebackers. You get a chance to finish a block on a linebacker, go get him. And again, all those same fundamentals there. Butt down, feet apart, hands inside. Now go finish that block. Okay, perfect. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but after all these years of this tremendously successful clinic that the offensive line has been put on, the defensive line now has tried to start something up. They started up this year, and I kind of got a little word of it, and so I sent my GA out to find out a little bit more about it. And so I sent him to this clinic, and he got there, and he couldn't actually get in because he didn't have, on his business card, it had to say a defensive line coach, or they weren't going to let you in. They weren't going to give up the goods, and so we're trying to get the goods. And so he wasn't able to actually get in, but he was able to kind of see the proceedings, what was going on a little bit. And so he took a little picture, and I wanted just to share with you what he saw. Okay? And so I think the bottom line is we're good for a couple years still. They're behind us still. And at this point, I think it still is just A gap, B gap to them. I really appreciate you guys' time. It's a huge honor to be here. I'll be here tomorrow if anybody has questions.
Offensive lineman and defensive lineman, how to be better in the trenches.
Probably got 30 or 40 guys that come here in a given year in an off-season.
Some of these NFL players aren't entering the octagon for an actual MMA battle, but they are literally fighting for a roster spot. So why not use any and every advantage to get the best shape of your life?
Leverage is everything in the NFL inside the trenches. When they come to fight ready, they definitely leave with a sense of improvement, and they understand things better, number one, from a technical component aspect, how they're going to be able to be more effective and efficient as they perform on the football field. They can do it in a safe way, and at the same time, they're getting in unbelievable shape. So most of these guys that train here, they always leave with having shed some body fat. When it comes down to it, everybody's always looked for the edge and advantage in sport.
And now you've got the MMA in the NFL.
Understanding your body and the energy that you contain. About energy at the end of the day.
It's a real honor to be here. I appreciate Coach McNally, get a chance to play for him, and it's excellent. And thanks Bob Wiley and all the presenters before me, and the opportunity to be standing in front of you is really an honor. So thank you for that. And you know, I wanted to, last night I heard some guys talking about leverage, and of course that's kind of one of the bigger concepts that we're discussing here at the Cool Clinic this year. And I heard some things, these are some ideas that we generally talk about when we think about how do we generate leverage, gain leverage, and win on the line of scrimmage. And some of these concepts apply here, but is there one in anybody's mind that really stands out? I mean, is there anybody that any one of these things that stands out, any one of these 8 that stands out? I'm sure there's others that have been mentioned, but I don't know. I mean, I think that what the truth is in this deal, maybe one, maybe 2, but I'm going to try to change your mind on today a little bit on what we think about when we think about leverage, because there's some counterintuitive steps that we've incorporated in based on my experiences in martial arts and also knowing the game of football. Structural considerations and angles, those are other things, structures and angles. What are we talking about? We're talking about how do we actually have, you know, power angles, and we hear that stuff a lot. Does anybody know what the strongest shape in architecture is? We got a guy here. Triangle? Nope. Anybody? The arc, correct. That's right. That is the strongest shape in architecture. The triangle is number 2, though. So we get into Leonardo da Vinci, a little history, a little information for you. But he talked about the proportion of the body is very parallel to that of forces of nature, and also in architecture. And if you notice some of the arcs, they're bridges. They're the most strong, structurally sound pieces of architecture in existence, and the pyramids, for instance, number 2. They've been around forever, right? So that's kind of what this whole concept is based upon. And so this is the arc position, very similar to Leonardo da Vinci's bridge. You can see it parallel to that. The bridge system is what I have. I call this position of optimal strength. It's really structural. It's optimal strength that the human body can achieve, and I think I've seen that in action. I've had it validated through the Mayo Clinic. Their biomechanics department actually gave us validation that this is the strongest way to actually generate movement and for the human body to be in. So that's what this is, and I'm going to show you guys today. How does it work? The vertical lift versus the horizontal push. A lot of times, you know, traditionally we're seeing guys coming leaning out over there with their face out in front, their hips are behind. And what we're teaching is the vertical lift and how to get them off balance, get them up. The bridge technique, you can see here, this is a suplex. Mechanics trump brute strength. Horizontal push requires gravity and traction. If you think about being in a swimming pool, trying to run in a swimming pool, you need traction and you need weight. So in that world, you need to be heavy and you need to have traction, and you don't have those in the pool. So the point is we're talking about lifting. You don't have to have traction behind you with your hips are underneath you. And we're trying to generate lift and get a guy off the ball, right? We can do what we want with them. And your hips are really a major piece of this. That's of course, one of the pieces, but it's major, very important. See, this suplex, it's extremely powerful. You can take a man bigger than you, and you can lift him over your head, and that's literally the only position. You can't do that by holding your arms out and trying to pick them up. So that's why I put that picture in there. The bridge, so the four components of the bridge: the coil, the strike, the uncoil, and the finish. And the coil, these are some coaching points. We want, I call them just V angles, but you want, when you draw your hands back in the coil, you're bringing your hands back, but you're never going to have your elbows cross the center line of your back. You're never going to actually cross the spine. And you want to keep a V, because a lot of times guys are opening their chests up, and see this thing here, a guy gets very subject to getting stabbed, one arm stabbed. So that's a piece there. Elbows within the posterior spine. The uncoiled portion is, that's again the protecting of the chest. Hips rolled before contact. Everybody that you see making contact with their face, and then they try to engage their hips. And that's something that, if you look at some of the film of guys that are actually really moving people, it's that hip roll. That's when you see the difference made. And of course, the hands being placed inside. But what we're teaching here is that your head and your hips swap position. Technical difficulty here. Bob, can you get that? Thanks. So as you come forward, you're generating that hip rock, and you're catching the guy underneath, right? So then that's the uncoil. Then on the strike. Next. Go ahead. The heel of the hand, and you guys have heard that been mentioned, I'm sure, a million times, but I want to make contact here, and we're going to get into the techniques, you guys. The next one. Yeah. Yeah, good. So I have two kinds of ways to engage someone. The first type is the shake, and I'm going to show you that. It's kind of like shaking somebody's hand with a thumb up. You want to shake, and this is a small pair of pads here. Big guy, little pads. All right, so when I'm making contact, I want that 90-degree angle. That's our triangle piece, that's right, and then we have the arc piece. I'm making contact, I'm drawing back at the V, and I'm going to come in here, and I want to make contact the way I teach it, and I like it. Saves your fingers, and it's really important to try to consider this, because as minor as it may seem, it does affect your play when you got banged up fingers. So you got these armpits here, and usually that'll kind of span almost near the pits. As I'm coming forward, I'm drawing my hands back in a V with my face out front, and I'm making contact here. I'm fitting my fingers in soft, right in the armpit. It's going to protect my fingers, but it enables me to deliver with the heel of my hand, make that strike. So it's really powerful here. I can start generating that lift vertically. So that's the shake position. The latch and screw. This is the second piece to this. Once we've already delivered contact, I don't want to go through all the progression of the coil and all that stuff. You guys have seen that, I think. But when it comes to actually engaging with your hands and how we start to manipulate the man across from us, big piece here, latch and screw. And how that looks is I'm delivering here, so my thumbs are up, right? And as I deliver and I cross as my elbows come forth in that V shape, I'm going to cross my body in front here, making contact here with the thumb up. Now I'm going to latch and screw my thumbs out. So my thumbs are going out. The more you can get them out, the better. This is actually more optimal. There's more power here. It's just that we're not trying to accomplish that. I know that there's a lot of guys teaching that too, where you come up underneath, and I don't like that as much on the onset, because you don't have that sensitivity in the back of your hand, and sometimes you're liable to miss at times to dig them underneath. So I teach this shake technique with the latch and screw, boom, and I'm screwing them in. Now from there I can make. Go on. So these things are applicable again on the one-on-one run blocks if you're making contact with a defender. They're good for short sets, anything like that, just pretty much engaging a guy. You want to lock him down, you latch and screw. Good. So there's the thumbs at the 45 or greater. I mean, you can again, if you want to get them out a little bit, the elbows tighten down, the hips catch up the elbows, tightening down to the buttress, and I call this a buttress. I use architectural terms. But this is a little different idea. Once I've engaged the guy, I'm going boom, boom here, I latch and screw, and I walk my hips. Now I have a buttress. It's basically the groove above the hip bones. If you can keep your elbows tight enough, and that's the problem for a lot of guys because they lift so much. I wasn't able to do this as a player. I lost some weight. But now I'm actually operating more powerfully. I have more, my biomechanics are on my side now. I can operate that way and generate that lift throughout the kinetic chain. As I make contact, my hips, my elbows are tightened down again and latch and screw, and I'm engaged here, and I walk into them. So the buttress here is preventing that from breaking. And that's very strong, extremely strong. If you're out here, you can get collapsed. That's a buttress concept. We'll go on to the next. So the second. So the second piece of my program, that's the Bridge Series. That's what we do with Safe Football. That's for kids, that's about being a good steward of the game. That's about trying to protect people. I think there's a lack of knowledge at the really lowest levels of football, and I think that we're all, Coach Murray alluded to last night about how the game is under attack, and we all love the game of football, and so we're trying to do our part. We have a nonprofit called Safe Football, and we're doing things with high school programs as well as kids 8 to 13, anybody making contact. And for those of you, if anybody wants to take part in that and knowing more, in your area, let me know. We're doing a great job with that thing in the community. So we have some really, I don't want to confuse Safe Football with inferior football. This is nothing nice about this. It just protects the brain a little bit more. We can mitigate some of these concussions. So the buckle series, the Bridge Series will make you strong and keep you safe. The buckle series will break you down. We basically use this buckle series to break the bridge. Bridge being the strongest position, now we want to break and buckle that bridge. That's what this whole concept is about. I'm excited to show you guys some of these techniques here. So the run game, we're going to go through some of the techniques that we can incorporate there. And the steer is the first one. So the steer is about, a lot of things we do, it's really about taking the spine alignment and breaking that. Not breaking the spine, but turning the spine. If you think about I have a hanger here, think about a hanger on a coat rack, and now you want to twist that hanger, because think about doing a heavy back squat with your shoulders tilted. You've just given up a lot of strength. Very simple ways. You guys have probably taught a steer before, to steer the plate. What I teach is probably a little different, and it's a little bit easier. We're not relying on brute strength and trying to just manipulate somebody. We're going to lag and lift, and that's what the next piece is. We want to get that shoulder tilted, and basically I put the hanger up there because there's two ways to tilt that hanger. You can tap down, you can lift up, or the third way is you can tap and lift, and that's what we're going to try to accomplish. And that's a concept that I learned in wrestling, is when you get a guy, you want to take him down, you want to never go head on with him, you want to take him at an angle, and you also want to try to get him off out of sorts. It's a really powerful thing, and if it can be the reason and the difference between a small guy with inferior strength and ability beating a larger man that just tries to play it straight. So we're on the next one. Yeah, we're going to demonstrate that, but I think the next... Yep. So this is, again, both hands on the wheel. We refer to both hands being inside on the wheel. This is the wheel. So I want to basically lag and lift. So I've already latched and screwed, right? Now I want to lag and lift. And the lag is the most important piece when you're working inside the frame. The lag is not a press. It's not a drag. It's not trying to take him down. It's sucking that elbow in, like as if you're doing a lat pull, and you're tightening that lat down. And what that does, that breaks down his shoulder. So you already got him here. See, he's gonna, and I'm not doing it with a lot of force. I'm just tightening my lat, dragging him. Now I've got that spine tilted, right? And then now I'm gonna lift. So it's a pop. So now we got him off kilter. He's losing his effect by a large degree. That's the lag and lift. The fold and the tilt. This is the same concept, but we use this now. In a perfect world, we would have hands inside, right? But that doesn't happen all the time. So let's say he's got one hand in, I got one hand out and one hand in. I'm going to buckle this elbow in. It's called a fold. Now I'm going to do the same thing, a fold and tilt. You can take them where I want them. So those of you that said the hands inside are critical, they're good. But I can show you how they beat that. Put both hands inside. So if I can ratchet his hands in, basically this is an optimal position, thumbs up, 90 degree, right on the buttress there. The difference between that and a shoulder submission is about that much. The guy's going to lose his strength, he's going to fight that, he's going to stop altogether. You're going to have to, or you're going to mitigate his strength. depending on how tough he wants to be. So the cup refit, again, this is the second piece in the hands series. This is the shake, and then the cup is coming in with the fingertips underneath. That can happen in a couple capacities. When I talk about on the one-on-one runs, I'm going to refit for the cup. So let's say I got him here, and then his hands are on, wherever, and I'm already engaged. Now I can refit. What that does is you got more power. The trachea choke, that'll make you come around pretty quick. When you get the pads, the V of the pads here, up into the trachea, you don't want to be a part of that. So very powerful. The cup fit on a double team. This is when, what I like to do is, I said before, a lot of times I'm nervous about coming off the ball with my hands up like this, but missing because I don't have that grab. I can't grab that way. And if I miss, guys got really tight pads there, I'm in trouble. So I don't mind doing it on a double team rather. So if I'm a left guard and I got a center with me, I'm stepping here, I can make contact with my shoulder pads. I slide that underneath, we take them for a ride. So that's one hand because you got a center or an adjacent lineman with you helping take them over. So that doesn't, it's a little more conservative. Well, next. What's that? Yeah, the med ball, you guys can, we have a drill that we can do with, I'm sure you guys have seen it with, Coach Wiley has done it. You hold the ball up here and you can refit with the med ball drill. It's very effective without pads. So we're going to get into the pass protection portion of today's deal with the buckle series. Something a little bit different. I call it skewering. When you watch boxers throw punches, the real good guys are gonna not just stopping here. They're extending. They're plussing there. Their subscapula is now. The scapula is really powerful. That's a big part of your back. And if you ever watch a bear walk, shoulders roll. The idea here is that we want to get that extension. So the scap and the skewer, the subscapula skewer is what we're going to show. So the first piece is going to be the scap, which is just like your pass protecting. Now, I want to make a punch. If you're walking into me here, see how my elbows are perfectly straight. I'm not yet really delivering my strike as I want to. This is a drill I do. It's for timing punch to really get to know that end range, to get that timing down, to make contact with the defender. So my elbows don't. So if you come in, see how I've got a lot of strength here, and so we're going to get to the next slide. The scap and screw is really where you're making contact, and you guys have seen some of the Tunch Ilkin films. I like a lot of what he does. I think when a lot of times guys will make that initial strike and you let go and you give the guy a second chance. So I like to screw it down. So once I scap here, I'm screwing. See, I'm making contact. I'm trying to grab. It's a tight jersey. Got the Pop Warner gear for these guys. So the scap, now this is thwarting and passing on twists. If you got a guy coming as a penetrator, really it's the most effective. So if you're coming in as a penetrator, I've already engaged them, and now I can, it's a really powerful thing. Watch, this is just one hand. I'm not moving my feet. So, is that powerful? So all I'm doing is rocking that extension on the scapula. So that's a good thing for thwarting twists and breaking people down. The scap post, this is something you do kind of like I just showed. If I'm a center or whatever I'm working, if I'm uncovered, you're a tackle, nose tackle, I'm here, I'm just holding space on a slide protection. I can help my guy out over here as I move. But I like to make contact with the straight arm. I used to do this a lot where it's just a lot of wasted movement and energy, not as powerful, is making contact with the bent elbow, step up in as a post, but see then I'm trying to bench press them off. In this case I'm just going here. I start them with the straight arm, okay? Sorry. And the key to that is turning, this is called lightning rod. If you see these defensive guys, as a note for those guys, none of them are here, take it back with you. But when you throw that thing, a lot of times that one-arm stab is a real dangerous thing, and I know you guys all know about it. But when you throw that, the guys that really are successful with it, they come in and they lead with the one arm straight, right? Well, the guys that with the bent elbow, it's the same thing. You're losing a little bit. The hips underneath, you can really roll a guy back, but what we do at the end is twist. So the thumb comes out and boom. So I do that on the, if if I'm doing that as a left guard or an uncovered lineman again, I'm just here, I'm going to make contact. Here, square up. He's coming off the ball. I can jar him there, and I can also just kind of hold space. What that does, it tilts his shoulders, it helps our center get over there and help out. Just a little thing. I find to be a little bit more efficient. The snap series is really how we take on bull rushes. You guys have seen the trap and the wedge and all that stuff with Tunch, and you guys probably teach the hop, some variation. So this is where we disconnect the opponent from pressure. So we're going to go into that, and this is a video here. The drag and fold, I'm basically latching down on, I'm folding his elbows in, because if he's got his hands inside, now I hop back. Even though my hips come forward, I'm regaining my composure with my hips toward the end. This is the fold and chop. So I don't like ever taking off. The trap here would be, if you have your hands on me. So if he's pushing on me, I'm going to disengage altogether and try to chop those elbows. I don't like that because you're separating. And if the guy's good enough he's a good athlete, it might take you back for a ride. It's a risky deal. A couple coaching points I look for the head. Again, it goes back to the spine alignment. If the guy's head's down, the guy's head is down. You guys hear me all right? If the head is down, that's an indicator that his spine is out of sorts and we can drag him down or snap him down. So when I do the chop, it's again, if my hands are not in position, if I can't refit, and that's sometimes, refit and hop, of course, but if I can't do that, I'm going to fold one of the elbows. So on this side, I'm going to fold that elbow. As I do so, I'm going to chop the other arm by hitting that nerve right in the joint line. So if he's doing it here, I'm going to show you the chop on this side first. So he's pushing. So that's going to open that hand up. It's not a big chop coming down. It's real subtle. It's just, again, it's using the scapula. So if we have this arm in, I'm going to fold that in. And I'm going to use that other hand because I'm using to ratchet that down a piece of jersey, a piece of cloth, and I'm not losing separation with the opponent. So I'm able to, as I break him down, I chop him down. I'm dragging him with that piece of cloth or whatever I can get my hand on. That way we're not really giving much up, because if you don't get it, you can still have a chance to refit and hop. So we just kind of went through the fold and chop, and it kind of already went through this piece, but the fold and drag again, if the guy's hands are inside and he's pushing you back, I look for this where the hands are. Basically, you guys can feel down where your sternum is. If the hand is above if the palm of the hand is at or above that, then don't consider trying to chop him, because you got a guy he's already got leverage. So if his hand's low and his head's down, that's a really good indicator of when you can throw a guy down. Depending on your hop, even if the guy has his hands up, if you hop good enough and you get your feet in the ground, you're pushing him. Okay, here, let's try it on this. Don't want to hurt anybody out here. So just push into me. I'm not going to take you down too hard here. So if this is going to, here, step back a bit. So his hands are here. So I want your knees to touch on that. I want to go down. So put your hands like tight hands, because in this case I would refit. So you're pushing. So I'm just going to drag him down by collapsing those elbows. Okay, it's very easy to do. Thanks, man. The pry refit. Now, the fold and drag, I just showed that. The drag is, you're dragging his ass on the ground. The pry refit, so...
My inside.
What's that?
My inside.
Yes.
All right.
So as I'm folding here, he's going to do something about that. If I'm trying to fold him, he's going to try to fight that pressure with pressure. Now he's prying back up, and I'm going to refit that hand. So if I don't get my way, I'm going to fold him, refit. It's another way to, it's a little bit of a cat and mouse game, but very effective. These are some of our drills I do with the level 1, it's college level stuff. So we got vision, and this is a good one, I think. I don't know. I learned this from a major league umpire. I asked this guy, like, how do you stand behind a plate with your hands behind your back? And your face in front and watching a 100-mile-an-hour fastball come at you, and you don't lose sight of that thing. Because I noticed when I was playing, there were times when the guy does all this shake stuff, the nonsense, and then you have a tendency, it's human nature, you have a tendency to flinch or to blink. Can't afford to do that. So what I do, and this is an easy one anybody can do as they're walking to to practice, they're doing, you just kind of detrain that, untrain that flinch response. And we take it from there. We do some other things and start incorporating it into individual drills. Hands are here, and now I can start flashing the guy's face, slapping the hand, get him to maintain his composure, keep his focus without flinching. It's a good one. It helps develop that so we don't lose out on that deal. It's very easy to implement. The hand sensitivity, the hand slap, everybody's seen this one. Put your hand out. Both hands. The kids like this stuff, and people like it. It's a little competitive. Put your hands that way. Just going to do that one. That kind of thing, and you try to start to awaken the nervous system in practice, but start to develop that hand sensitivity to feeling. And we go into this, that's the hand slap, and then the center line training. So if he's going to start to do a rip on me, I'm going to refit my hands, and you just start feeling it, and you can kind of integrate that in. You've probably seen that before. Hand sparring is a good competitive drill we do, where we're circling around, and we don't have to have pads on. I use gis or anything that's got a thick cloth to it. I want to protect my chest. That's one thing I wanted to mention today. Is again, if we're kind of looking at boxing or something as a sport, I'm modeling after boxing, but there's some components of it that are effective. And you never see a good heavyweight or anybody, a good boxer period, dropping his hands. His chin is his moneymaker. It's going to keep him alive. And just because you can take a punch, there's no future in that. So what they want to do is maintain it. When they're delivering strikes, they're always protecting their chin, and we need to do the same with our chest. Even though we're usually attacking people, there's some easy ways, called clogging or parrying, clogging the chest, making sure that as he's trying to shoot his hands, I can kind of work to deflect those punches and the strikes. So we do hand sparring. It's real competitive, and then you let the whistle go when someone declares, he basically gets hands inside, and you can start working all the series of progressions that we talked about. The fold, the refit, the pry, the refit, and we're going to talk about the tip of the spear, that's what we call hand fighting. Getting that sharp, that's the first piece of the weapon, making contact with an opponent. We want to make that really sharp and count when it makes contact. The heel strike, I think you guys have seen this. Do this a lot, you can't do it enough. It's not about brute force. You're not, a lot of kids will see them like, okay. It's using the roll of your wrist just like you're rolling your hips. It's really powerful, and it does emphasize the tip of the spear, making contact and making it count and collapsing that sternum on contact. The dig progression, I got a tape, we'll show you that. 3 series there. It's rhythmic, resistance, and push-pull. Fit, refit, which you guys would probably understand what that is, but I got a drill, we'll show that. Fit, fold, refit, again, we mentioned that already. The bridge, two-step hat and hands. Or I'm sorry, 2-step hip and hands. So I'm step going 2, and my hips and hands are really part of the same deal. That's just something you can do with a partner. Hip hop drill is something that gets your body into the shape, the arc shape that we want to achieve, and it's like a bull rush hop. So I'm being pushed here. So push me. I can hop and basically get my hips underneath. It helps train that bridge series. Just a good drill. Med ball thrust is when, again, I mentioned, you've got a ball. If he's holding the ball here, act as though you're holding a ball. So I'm coming up, and I'm just going to come up here and make contact with the ball. And the thing with the ball is, and I notice when I work with a lot of people, the first thing to do is they either hold it like parallel like this, with their hands like this, or when they make contact, they try to do this. You can't carry the ball that way, so we do it at a 45. Kind of cup the fingers a little bit, so you're making it here, and just so you have the ability to hold that ball. Next, this video. This is a dig drill. I'll explain after. Yeah, thanks. Notice the spine is tilting. So this thing, I get the team going on this. This is up at University of Washington. It's a good drill you can incorporate in the weight room. A lot of the drills I have are really good for that because I know there's some rules that we can't get around. So we don't have pads on, so we're going to do this. That's why I do the dig progression, because you can use the lat as a handle without having a set of pads on. Forces to keep your hips underneath you. That's one of the part of the progression. The first progression, and really the purpose of the dig drill, it's similar to pummeling and wrestling, and it's to make sure that you're tying your hands and your hips together. It's really where the power is. If you make contact with your hip back, you lose it, and your elbow bent. That's a terrible position. If I'm here, so that I'm driving my hands and my hips, they're connected. That's where the real power comes from. So I work that a lot, and it's something that gets guys pretty tired in 30 seconds, and you can kind of add that into a warm up. It's a really nice progression. The first part of the progression is rhythm. So if he's going to go, you've never done it, but if I'm here, just kind of rhythmically trying to work in very tight circles, but you're just trying to work on getting the hands inside. Then you start in the second progression piece. The second progression piece is we're going to make it tighter and more challenging. So we're going to now defend and make it a little more challenging for the guy across from you to allow your hands inside. And the third is the dig and the pull. So that's where we're going to work the bull rush deal. So go on here. Fit refit, this is the next step of the progression, more football specific, and you guys have seen this, I'm sure, but it ties the dig in, and you can do this with pads or without pads. Real tight circles, thumbs up, the hips are in.
I like this hand here. You got one hand on my shoulder? No. I'm not going to get back to it. Stand here. I want to get my hand here.
And see, I'm higher than him higher than these guys, but I'm still able to move them back because of the trajectory of my hips. Trajectory of the hips and hands, kind of a rolling 45-degree upward, and you're going to get a guy up off of the ground. The hand sparring deal. This is what I was mentioning before. Do it without helmets on, but it's a good way. I mean, I think we could become better football players by practicing the skills of football. I think it's something that it's really the piece where I think that the most growth and development is possible, and it's a piece that's getting taken off the table because of some of these policies out there. So we like to do these things in drills that we can fit into the standard off-season training programs with strength conditioning teams or staffs rather. So the bridge and buckle series review, these are our phase one. That's what we went over today. You have the coil, again, that's drawing your hands back in the V shape with a 90-degree angle, never crossing the back. The uncoil, as I'm stepping forward, I'm rolling my hips, but I'm definitely protecting my chest in the process. And my feet I didn't mention, but I think this is something that's been controversial, but it's absolutely more powerful, and it allows your hips to come through as your toes are out at a 45. So you create a 90-degree angle with your feet. That seems to be the most powerful position. It enables guys to, when you're hopping, if you think about the hop, if your toes are forward, you're not getting that same hip thrust. So the toes come out on contact. So even if you're running from a distance, if you're kind of making contact with a player, you come to balance and you make contact and you have your feet at a 90 degree. And the weight is positioned on the insteps. Another key point. We talked about the steer, the latch and screw rather. That's the next piece. The latch and screws here, you latch down to the buttress, you got a 45 or better with your thumbs out. And you have the steer progression, which is the lag and lift. We go into the fold and the tilt, and then the cup refit, which is the one hand underneath. The skewer series, again, the scapula. We have the scap and screw, which is you're popping them and you're fitting. The scap is a good one for if you're trying to just do trying to stop and thwart a line stunt, is when you're already there and you can just generate more power without actually trying to. It's kind of a second piece of taking a second bite of the apple, getting to launch that guy. We have the post again for an uncovered lineman on a slide protection here. It's very powerful. Snap series of fold and the chop, and we went through that, and then the chop would be you're folding the elbow, chopping the one arm, key indicator, once again, is if the defender is out over his head with his head down. It's a real good indicator that he's going to be easy to snap down. The fold and drag is when the guy's got both hands inside. Now I'm breaking that down and I'm dragging him down with the cloth, face first. Pry refit, we went through that again. So that's, if I'm buckling, he's going to fight it, refit. And that's phase one. So that's really all I have for you guys today. That's our first piece of the presentation. Again, we have a phase one that we work with colleges, and this is something that I try to get guys really acclimated to doing very proficiently, and it's making players a lot better at football, and it's one thing that we can do. I know that schematically you guys are in charge of that, and then I think we're the players. What I like to do is just be able to develop the microcosm of football, which is the individual player, which is hard to do at a lot of higher levels of football, as you guys know. So these drills are really easily incorporated, and we're working with some college programs right now. We've got a lot of NFL kids that come through, and we work now with the Safe Football piece, the nonprofit. We work with high schools. We just partner with Athletes Performance and doing some clinic work out there, and we've got some good things in the works, and we'd love to have your participation. I appreciate you guys having me here. This is a real honor and a privilege to be part of the Cool Clinic, to be speaking before you as a former player, and I think it's a great thing, and just it feels good to get outside of the MMA community, whatever that means, and come back into where I really, an area where I really know best and spent the majority of my life in, and that's offensive line. And I may not look like an lineman anymore, but I certainly am still my DNA, and I think it's important to mention. I talked about initially about being a good steward of the game. It's all about this. It's you guys coming out here sharing ideas. To what degree, it's up to you. I'm not sure, but guys are sharing their ideas and sharing concepts and trying to help each other and having a good spirit of sportsmanship in the game itself, because it is highly competitive, as you know. But for me, it's a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys having me. Thanks for having me at the Cool Clinic.